Hey y'all, welcome back to Bleducation, where we teach you about people you should know and people if you know about them, you'll learn more about them. I'm Mia.
And I am Brando from the Bando. All right.
I told y'all
All
he is
right.
not from the bando.
I'm not from the
Yeah,
Bando. Okay.
I'm
You
gonna
got a
sh-
$5
I'm
bill?
gonna shoot it down every time.
No.
No,
You got a penny?
shut
All right.
up.
No, you don't have a
Tell the people what we're
penny.
talking about
Okay.
today.
We're talking about Abraham Lincoln. Actually, we're talking about the part where he goes, no. All
As
right.
my kids like to say,
Yeah.
headshot.
Yeah. Headshot, Call of Duty, all the things. All right. So a lot of people only know that Abraham Lincoln got shot, right? That's it. All right. That's all they know. All right. So we are actually going to talk about what actually happens before that, the planning, all the things that happen after, a little bit after, all those things. Okay. So Abraham Lincoln. All right. We all know him as famous Abe. Yeah. He couldn't tell a lie.
Honest
Yeah. He
Abe.
used to he used to cut down the cherry trees. Or no, that was George Washington, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, all right. So Abraham Lincoln. All right. So we all know that he is president during a very tumultuous time
That's a
in
big
our,
word.
during in our country, known as the Civil War, where the North is fighting against the South. Okay.
The only war on American soil.
The only war on American soil. Okay. Really bad. Okay. Lots of people died.
Mm-hmm.
Lots
of people.
So a lot of people like to assume that the Civil War is about the issue of slavery, and I'm not going to say that that was not a contention point, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Lincoln, his actual first thing with the war was like, I'm actually trying to preserve the Union.
Yeah.
So he actually does not give a damn about slavery.
When you take a deep dive into Lincoln, especially looking at his Emancipation Proclamation and just some of the conversations that he had with his cabinet, during, after, before the war, all these things, his main focus is making sure that, again, he is preserving the Union. It is less about especially again looking at the Emancipation Proclamation, less about actually freeing the slaves and more about how do I get this issue to end? Because again, he is president at the time where we have an American war. Like, it's not like we're fighting anybody foreign. We're not fighting for our independence. We're fighting one another on this one particular issue. So a lot of his sentiment at the time is going to be, I do not care what it takes. I don't care if we keep slavery, end slavery, any of that. I want this war to be over because it looks bad on me. I can't preserve the Union. I can't make sure that we are one,
Yeah.
So that's a big part, and which is why I do hate Abe Lincoln. It's not his own fault. I hate him because of the his legacy that a lot of people think he's left, and it's just simply not true, and I hate it.
Columbus vibes,
it's very Christopher Columbus. Thank you.
Like
I have literally been saying it is very Christopher Columbus, and one day people are going to get to a point where they realize all this praise that they have given this man is unwarranted. Like, he does not deserve any of it.
Trash.
He's actually a terrible human being, which is why people killed him. Actually, not really why people killed him, but
let's talk about it. All right, so Abraham Lincoln is going to actually get killed, murdered, I should say, or assassinated. All right, he's going to get assassinated right after the Civil War is over. Okay, so just to backtrack though, he is going to get reelected as president of the Union. Well, not of the whole country, because the Confederacy is technically their own. They are technically their own country right now, and they have Jefferson Davis as their president.
Which, like,
so
what even is that?
So he's going to get reelected in the Union because the people are like, well, you've got us this far in this war. Like, let's just see what else you can do.
Yeah.
All right. So the war actually ends, though, right after he gets reelected.
Yeah.
So, but to backtrack, so during the war, right, like the North and the South, yeah, they're fighting each other, but there are still certain rules of war that they, they abide by. And one of those is a prisoner exchange. Okay. Mm-hmm. So, like, you have some of my people, I got some of your people. Okay, let's trade. Okay. Yeah. But then we get to a point where we have Ulysses Grant, who's eventually going to become a president, who is a hothead, and
one of my least favorites.
He gets pretty pissed off. He gets pretty pissed off at some point, and he decides to stop this this trade of exchange of prisoners. Okay. Mm-hmm. So we have John Wilkes Booth, who is the guy that actually kills Abraham Lincoln during this time, and he's literally following the war pretty closely. Yeah. And he does not like this move that Grant makes. So this is the first time that he's like, okay, well, let's go ahead and kidnap the president. So he's not really thinking about murder just yet, but he wants to go ahead and kidnap Abraham Lincoln, and he feels like, and I he's a little, off. Okay, a little crazy.
Obviously, right? I mean,
but in his head, he's like, if I kidnap the president, right, then I can use this as like collateral, right? And I can force, General Grant to come back and, make this prison exchange happen again. All right. I mean,
I have to be honest. Why did he think he was going to get away?
Because he was a little crazy. What did they call it? Delusions of grandeur.
Oh, okay. I'm just because, I mean, I thought a lot of things in my life, but assassinating and killing the president, or trying to kidnap the president, has never been one of them. Because even if you really driven, you're not going to get away with that one.
Well, we do have to just talk about John Wilkes Booth in general. So, he was pretty famous at the time, actually. So, a lot of people in America knew exactly who he was,
which is crazy. I didn't know that.
So he was not just a random guy. He was a famous actor at the time. Definitely, if Instagram would have been around, he definitely would have had the blue check for sure. Period. For sure. Actually, and then when we I'll say that for when we actually talk about the assassination, but he actually uses his fame to assist him in killing Abraham Lincoln.
That's wild. Actually.
So he is basically going to come up with this idea to kidnap the president, but boom, the war ends up ending. Robert E. Lee at Maddox's house. He's going to go ahead and surrender. All right, the war is over. Abraham Lincoln is also going to give his re-election speech, and John Wilkes Booth, like the creeper that he is actually at the speech to listen. Talk about obsessed, okay? Why are you so obsessed with me? All right, I want to know. So John Wilkes Booth is actually at this speech, and I don't know what Abraham Lincoln specifically says, but whatever he says enough to piss John Wilkes Booth off to the point where he's switching from, oh, we're not going to kidnap, okay, we have to actually kill this man.
Now I need to go look this up to figure out what this man said to piss him off.
Yeah.
Because now it's not even, I'm going to hold you captive. Now you have to die.
Yeah, so he's like, yeah, you have to, John Wilkes Booth, I think he had a little bipolar. He had a little disorder or something, right? Okay, so he is actually going to recruit some homies. All right, so he's going to have a guy named Lewis Powell. He's going to have another guy named David Harold, and he's going to have a dude named George Axelrod.
Axelrod, that's what we determined. Yes. Axelrod, and we apologize if it's wrong.
I wanted to say Axelrod, but we're going to say Axelrod.
That's for sure not it.
Yeah. Okay, it's that. Okay. Also, he's going to have this lady named Mary. Okay. So Mary is also involved in the plot. So all these people are involved in this plot, right? And we're not just going to kill Abraham Lincoln. We are actually going to kill the vice president, who is Andrew Johnson, and we are going to kill the Secretary of State, who is Mr. William Seward. He is setting up this plan. Mary, she just provides the places for them to all meet up. She does the link up. But trust and believe, she is an accomplice still. She's still an accomplice. Okay, so they're gonna set up this plan. John Wilkes Booth is very adamant that this plan goes a certain way. I wonder if the man was a Virgo, because he was just very determined. But anyways, I have to look up his birthday later at a different date. But anyway, so John Wilkes Booth is going to set up this plan, all right? And the idea is to kill all these top government officials so that the Union will fall, in the South, the Confederacy will have another chance. Have another chance to continue this fight.
I don't condone it, but it makes sense.
He doesn't agree with the fact that the South has surrendered. He still wants this war to continue to happen. So he feels like this act of violence is going to somehow be connected with the idea that the South will rise again. Actually, that's what he says after he kills Abraham. Those were his words that he says after he kills Abraham.
And I'm actually surprised more Southern racist people don't look up to him because of the verbiage that he uses. I'm actually shocked. I mean, I guess I'm glad, but I don't know. I would actually expect that a little bit more than we see it. But that's neither here nor there, I suppose.
So Abraham Lincoln is going to go to Ford Theater. And actually, fun fact, he actually has a premonition the day before that he's going to die. And actually Mary Todd, who he is married to, she does too much, but she, a whole different story. She actually begs him not to go to this play. He actually almost considers not going. Actually, he was supposed to go with. He was actually supposed to go with. With Grant or some other people, but they declined to go. So they were having like a tough time finding some people to go to the play with. They eventually do find some other people to
accompany. Link ups.
Yeah, like they want to go by themselves. You know, I wouldn't want to go by myself either. All right. So a couple of things are going to come into play here, okay, and they actually work in favor of Booth. Okay, so one, Abraham Lincoln's bodyguard is off duty that day. Right.
That's wild.
Now, I don't understand why.
He only had one?
Yeah, so at the time, so the Secret Service was not a thing. The Secret Service actually became a thing because Abraham Lincoln is the first president to ever be assassinated. The first U.S. president. So there's not really a need for a Secret Service. And actually also, like, people from the street at the time, the White House was not guarded. So people from the street could just literally walk into the White House. Like
that is like so crazy compared to what we see now. That's wild.
So that, you know, times have changed. But so his bodyguard is off duty during the time. Actually, Abraham Lincoln, I think, sent him into Virginia on an errand or something like that. But either way, he's not there. So he's just being guarded by the local police. All right. So the police officer who is guarding him likes to get drunk. So he's kind of bored, okay, and he decides that he is actually going to go across the street to a tavern and go get a drink, right? He's like, oh, Abraham Lincoln, he'll be fine, right? He's going to go get a drink. Guess who is in the tavern getting drunk courage? John Wilkes Booth. So he sees, cool, let me go. Let me go, all right?
Yo, that's wild.
Yes. So he's going to say, let me go, all right? So actually he is going to go up into this box, okay? And during this time, they have calling cards, right? So that's where you get the phrase from. And so he forges a calling card and says, like, well, I'm actually here to meet with the president. Again, remember, he is a celebrity. And what's really crazy is that Abraham Lincoln had been trying to get John Wilkes Booth to come to the White House for months before this, actually, because he wanted to meet him.
I am like,
he really admired his work. The irony, right? Irony. John Wilkes Booth was like, yeah, I'm up here to meet the president. So, of course, people in the theater, he also isn't a famous actor. So everyone in the theater knows who he is. Crazy. So it's just like they just all say, yeah, sure. They let him up.
Walk right? on in.
So he literally goes up, all right, into the booth. He barricades the booth, right? And then he goes in, and he knows the play. All right, he knows the play, and there is a particular part in the play where he knows that people are going to laugh. Right, he knows that people are going to be like, "This is funny," right? And so he times his execution, his shot. He waits for this line in the play to happen, and then everyone is laughing, and then he shoots point blank, Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln just kind of slumps over, right? And initially, no one knows what happens, right? Mary Todd Lincoln looks, and he looks like he's asleep. But she nudges him, and then she realizes, oh, shit, like, what has happened? So she starts screaming, okay? The couple that they're also with is also, like, screaming and realizing, hey, okay, something is happening. Something is happening, right? So John Wilkes Booth also has a knife. So he is going to struggle with the other gentleman who is in the booth at the time. He's going to stab him, right? Then he's going to jump down from their VIP section, all right? He's going to jump onto the stage, right? He's going to break his leg, right? Because it was
that seems like a thing that should happen.
Yeah, so he's going to break his leg, and no one knows what's going on. That's the crazy part.
They think it's part
Everyone
of the
play. Thinks it's a part of the play.
He's famous.
And he's a famous actor. So they're like, oh, okay. Like, and at this point, he's rushing off stage, and people are starting to realize something something is off, right? And they're screaming from the booth, stop that man, right? So he's going to run past these theater people. He's going to stab them for good measure. Like, you're in my way. Stab, right? Yes. And so he is going to actually be able to escape DC because, like, no one knows specifically what is happening. No one knows what's happening just yet in real time, okay? Now, while this is happening, we can't forget his buddies, right? Because they are tasked with killing the vice president and killing the Secretary of State.
Yeah, okay.
All right. So our boy George, who got tasked with killing Andrew Johnson, pretty much he gets drunk and he's like, you know what, fuck that. I'm not doing that. Like,
I actually don't want to.
Yeah, so he's just like, no, it's not a thing. He gets scared. He's not going to do it. All right. So then you have our boys Lewis and David, all right? And they are supposed to go kill the Secretary of State. And so what's actually pretty messed up is that the Secretary of State was already kind of injured because he had been thrown off of a horse. So he had gotten into a carriage accident.
So much is going
so
on.
It actually is going to save his life, though, because he is convalescing in a bed, right? And he has like this, for lack of a better term, we'll call it a neck brace, even though that's not technically what it was, but for intents and purpose, a neck brace, right? And so when they're going upstairs, they gain entry because they say that they're there to check on him, make sure that he's okay. So his family is there, and they looking like, I don't know this man,
right?
Like, okay, like why are you here?
Right.
But the daughter, William's daughter, ends up letting Mo up. Okay, so as soon as he gets up there, he's just like stab, but it doesn't do anything because the brace is there. The brace is there, so.
Dude.
He ends up slashing like part of his face, and I don't want to say his hand or something like that. Williams Seward's son comes up, and they have a little tussle. He gets stabbed, and then they run out. Okay, and they run away. Okay,
I never knew none of this.
William Seward, though he does not. So he has some superficial injuries in addition to the ones he already had, but he survives. Rule number one: if you're going to kill someone, make sure that they are actually dead. Like, and then George, like, here's my thing to you, like, not wishing death on someone, but Andrew Johnson was
Reconstruction, pulling troops out of
pretty
the South.
Racist.
Like, it's very much giving like
racism.
And very much giving why didn't
racist.
You?
So, like,
why didn't
you? If you were gonna kill someone,
why didn't you? You was talking about it, but you wasn't about it, and that's real crazy to me because I feel like anybody that sets himself up with a plot that extensive,
yes.
Like if John can do it,
understanding the assignments, okay, not understanding.
Because again, when we talk about Reconstruction and looking at like the plight of Black people at this particular time, yeah, of course, we get 13th, 14th, 15th, okay, abolishing slavery in Southern states, with the exception of if you commit a crime, don't forget it. Yes. Equal protection of the law, citizenship, the right to vote, but only for y'all or whatever.
Yeah.
Looking at that, all great things, but also Reconstruction. Poll taxes, grandfather clause, lynching, like just all of these different things that keep Black people from prospering. Like we've talked about previously, just looking at like all of the disenfranchisement that comes after the Civil War.
I'm not
saying
saying
no help from the government.
I'm not saying it's wrong that you didn't kill Andrew Johnson, but I wouldn't have been upset.
Pulling troops out of the South, and it's very much giving you didn't care.
Yeah. So in the end, the only person that ends up dead is Abraham Lincoln. So John Wilkes Booth, it doesn't fully work out.
I know he was hot.
Yes.
I know he was mad.
So they are able to escape into Maryland. Okay. Actually, and during this time too, there was actually a curfew during this time. So the Union soldier that actually let him into Maryland let him in because he was like, "Oh, you're famous. Like, I know you, dude." Like,
that is not a pass.
Yes, but he let him go into Maryland. So during this time, though, obviously, so Abraham Lincoln is going to die early in the hours the next morning, around like 7:22 a.m.
So bro wasn't dead?
Huh?
He wasn't dead yet?
No, so he did not immediately die. Actually, no, he did not. Yeah, so he never regains consciousness, but he was not dead. He didn't die until the next morning because he actually had a blood clot, and the doctor actually removed the blood clot, so he was able to breathe a little bit more. But at this point in time, they have definitely pronounced the wound as mortal. He's gonna die. Mary Todd she goes to see him at 7 a.m. So he dies at 7:22 a.m.
Very specific.
That's when he died. And they allow Mary Todd to come in at around 7 a.m. To see him, but she gets hysterical and kind of does the most.
Well, her husband is dying.
Well, she just
Thinks
in
gets a pass.
general. I mean, she does get a pass, but in general, she's just extra as hell anyway. Just that's who she is. So they have to remove her from the room. So she actually is not there when he actually does die. Just his doctors and a couple of close advisors. And what they do say though is that they immediately recognized when he died because they literally said a feeling of peace came over his face because you have to remember Abraham Lincoln was stressed out,
right? Bro,
his whole presidency. So now it's just kind of like, okay,
I know he was probably like, dang, I signed up for this, but did I really want to do this?
Yeah, so
because I mean, Civil War, y'all, the only war again on American soil, but Americans are Americans.
So John Wilkes Booth, like what happens to him? So he is going to actually run, and he's thinking that he's going to go to the South and have some kind of protection, but a lot of people actually didn't hate Abraham Lincoln, right? Especially in the South. Like, I mean, they wanted a war, but they don't really look at Abraham Lincoln as this bad person.
Right.
So, like, there's a manhunt with people from the North and from the South looking for this man. And so he's eventually going to get captured. I actually think that he actually got betrayed. That's just my conspiracy theory because he was actually in a barn for a Confederate, right? But magically, these Union soldiers are able to roll up and trap him while he's there. And he goes, "You'll never take me alive," or some crazy stuff like that. And they're like, either you come out or we're going to just burn the building down. You're going to come out either way. You're going to come out, right? And so while he's doing this whole thing, like, I'm going to try to escape, a Union soldier comes into the back of the barn and puts one in his head, ironically, probably about an inch or two below where he does Abraham Lincoln himself.
Well, I mean,
except for with him, though, it's going to sever his spine. So he does not instantly die either. He dies probably like 3 hours later. He's just paralyzed, right?
Damn.
And so that's going to be John Wilkes Booth. So, of course, they're going to figure out that John Wilkes Booth didn't do all of this by himself, especially because Mr. Seward is still alive, okay? So they're going to figure out that this is a plot, and then everyone involved in the plot starts snitching on each other, okay?
And of course they do, though. I'm telling.
Yep, so they're going to all start snitching on each other, or they're married. Now, Mary, she was like, I am legally blind. Like, I don't know nothing about this. I don't know what was happening in my house. Of course, that's not going to work for her. All these people are going to get executed by hanging. They're all going to be hung afterwards. And as a result, we do have changes in policy that happen. So now the president is going to be guarded, okay? Even though that doesn't necessarily work for Garfield, McKinley, Garfield, McKinley, and of course JFK, because they all are going to be assassinated.
But also, why was he riding in a convertible with the top down? You're the president, sir.
I mean,
but I mean, we don't victim blame.
We can talk about the Kennedy curse in that episode.
Yeah, we don't victim blame,
but I mean,
But
so that's going to be the story of Abraham Lincoln.
That is wild. I didn't know any of that. I just.
What up? It's your boy, Brando from the Bando. Actually, I'm from the suburbs, not the Bando, but that's okay. I'm here to say thanks for watching the Polaris Network on YouTube. For exclusive shows and premium content, subscribe to the Polaris Network on YouTube right now. Seriously, what are you doing? Go subscribe. Go do it right now.